if you have let's say a Christian, and he says, hey, Islam has this death penalty. Look, here's the passage. And then you have all these Muslim leaders saying, no, you don't understand the passage. You're only doing that because you're a racist and an Islamophobe and a bigot and so on. If you actually understood, here's what it really means. Who do you believe? Well, you might say, I don't know who to believe or something like that. But guess what? You don't have an accurate understanding because you don't know who to believe. Or you believe the Muslims. Because, well, it's their religion. They can speak for their religion. And so that's what it was like. That's what it was like back then. Everything you said, liar, and so on. You start wondering why. Is this really worth it? It didn't feel like anyone was listening.
So David is speaking about how things were like 20 years ago. For most of us, we were just children, or we weren't even born back then. He's basically around the time that he started, because he's been doing this for around 20 to 25 years, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If he ever responds to this video, he can tell us how long he's been doing this. And he's making it seem as if Muslims were lying about the religion, because the Islamic texts say this, and Muslim leaders are saying this. However, the reality is, what they would have been doing is just explaining it, giving context. And that's why at the start you saw it said, does David Wood care about context, or something along the lines of that? Because the reality is, context matters. David Wood consistently, in his videos, when he makes videos against Islam, he does quote verses of the Quran. He'll quote a tafsir. He'll quote a hadith. He'll give the reference. But the issue is how you present it and how you explain it. David Wood admitted he gives the worst interpretation possible. I already knew this. Anybody who's watched his content knows this. For example, perhaps David's done a video in which he quotes a hadith which is not authentic, and he doesn't tell his audience this. So when a Muslim responds with, that hadith is not authentic, that is a valid response. Let me give you an example in Christianity now, because perhaps this is the best way for you guys to understand. I'm simply going to use David Wood's mindset. This is David Wood's apologetic mindset. What does the Bible teach about the signs of those who truly believe? Well, let's read the following passage from Mark 16, 9 to 20. Actually, this is verse 15. And he said to them, go into all the world and proclaim the gospel to the whole creation. Whoever believes and is baptized will be saved. Whoever does not believe will be condemned. And these signs will accompany those who believe. In my name they will cast out demons. They will speak in new tongues. They will pick up serpents with their hands. And if they drink any deadly poison, it will not hurt them. And when they lay their hands on the sick, they will recover. So hang on a minute. You are somehow find yourself on Snake Island. And, there's poisonous snakes everywhere. But don't worry. You're all right because you're a Christian and you truly believe. This is the sort of logic that David Wood uses. Now look at what I've said there. I've just gone ahead and quoted passages from the text and I've given you the reference. It's clearly there for you to see. But the way that I've explained it, the way that I've tried to make it come across, is ridiculing it, is mocking it, is trying to make it seem like it's a falsehood. Now the reality is, how does a Christian explain this? They say that this passage is not authentic. That's right. The inspired word of God, according to Christians, has passages within it that are not even authentic. And David Wood himself has actually said this. Here's the clip.
States that true Christians can drink poison, Mark chapter 16, and not be harmed.
As far as the mark, that comes from the end of Mark, which practically every scholar, every Bible scholar in the world says was not authentic, that this was a later addition.
Oh boy, this is hilarious.
And then here and there, all of a sudden you'd hear, hey, I just left Islam. It's like, oh. Well, actually, if that's the only person who left Islam, it was worth it for that one person. It was worth it for that one person. And so you keep going, and then you hear another person, another person, another person, another person, another person. Anyway, 20 years go by, and all of a sudden we get what's called the avalanche of apostasy.
So that clip there follows on immediately from the last clip. And basically, he just says it. Look, the people left Islam. And then he left Islam, so he's saying more people are leaving Islam. Nowhere does it mention, though, that they became Christian. And in fact, in the example David Wood gave in apostasy, Christians themselves believe in apostasy. They'll use a cop-out excuse, oh, that's Old Testament, we're under some sort of new law now. It doesn't change the fact that even if we accept what you are saying, according to one point in time, your God, who you say is this triune God, which is Jesus, that's what you claim, ordered the killing of apostates. And the verse in Deuteronomy, it's crystal clear, here it is on screen. So either it was moral or it's immoral. Make the choice. But the main purpose of this part here, this part of the video, is to get you to realize something. David Wood just wants the person to apostate from Islam. That's his primary purpose. He even says it's worth it. Not if they became a Christian. Just so long as they leave Islam, his work is worth it. And he is going to speak about the avalanche of apostasy. I've already made a video on that. Regardless, I'm going to play the clip and speak about it briefly. But if you would like to watch a longer video, you can check the link in the description or just search for the video that's on screen right now.
We didn't call it that. They called it that. Because the apostasy rates of young Muslims went from basically around 0% 20 years ago to 24% just a couple of years ago. Now that is very rapid, right? And if you go around the world, this is happening everywhere. It's estimated that between 5 and 10% of people who are actually counted as Muslims in Muslim countries are actually closet atheists at this point.
So as mentioned, watch this video that's on screen. I go more into it there and show how the reality is Christianity is dying. And in terms of reverts into a religion or converts into a religion, Islam is predicted to have more than Christianity. Christianity's in a net loss and Islam is in a net positive. But let's say Islam was a net loss too. That doesn't mean that Islam is false. And it's interesting, David didn't mention to his audience, his Christian audience there, that guys, our religion is dying. That our churches are empty. That look how many people are meant to leave our religion. I'd also say as well that I think there are Muslims out there who know Christianity better than Christians themselves. A lot of people are nominally Christian. I saw videos on TikTok and on social media, perhaps you've seen it as well. You know, that guy who goes around saying, oh, you know, for $20 or $100, name me one Bible verse, and they can't name it. Now, I'm thinking to myself, if you came to me, if I was in America and you asked me that question, I could make, $300, $400 maybe? Because there are ones that I know off by heart. I could explain to you what you believe, what you as a Christian believe. I've got some knowledge of Christianity. I don't claim to be an expert. I don't claim that I'm overly educated on Christianity, but I know some stuff. So perhaps David Wood should focus on the fact that his religion, obviously assuming he's a Christian and not a closeted atheist, which is my suspicion. Why isn't he focusing on that? Why isn't he telling his congregation, we need to focus on this? Why are we focusing on Muslims apostating and saying that as a positive when still the majority of Muslims who apostate become atheists or agnostics, meaning they're still in a hellfire according to Christian belief? And that brings me back to the point which I mentioned, I think, in a prior video. David Wood does not care about the person, what they do after they apostate. It's very, very rare you will find David Wood saying, come to Christ. In this video here, he does talk about it. Okay, he does mention it. But this is like, I can't remember the last time I've ever heard David Wood ever say, come to Christ. Anyway, let's continue. He's going to speak more about apostasy, and then he's going to mention a Muslim country. Well, what he says the Muslim country. Can you guess what that country is?
Iran. Iran. Iran.